Well, yeah, Dean, how preparations, I guess, tracking for the final on Thursday night?
Yeah, last contact session today, and always feel good about everybody's body coming through healthy in contact sessions, leading into an elimination game. Obviously got 3 members of our group coming back from the Boomers, which was, exceptional to go get wins over there against the Philippines and Guam. So they rejoin the group tomorrow and make sure that they're totally up to date with how we go and attack this game.
It seems like everything's coming together at the right time, in terms of timing your run with your form and injuries and that. Does it feel that way?
I think so. The last 8 games of the year, we got back to statistically being the best defensive team, and so that's always a good base for us. Been really working on our offensive confidence and how in big moments how we space the floor, and so we'll work on that a little bit more in our last 2 practices as well.
And obviously Shea is such an important part of your team. Can you give us a bit of an update on sort of where he's at, or if you've made a decision on him playing?
Yeah, it'll be a game time decision, but we've been happy with the 2 contact sessions that he's had recently, and things are moving the right way.
Will you play him if he's not 100%? Is obviously he's such a valuable part of your team. Have you got, and does he make the decision, or how does that kind of unfold?
Yeah, we'll work with the medical staff on what we potentially can get out of him if he's cleared to play, and we've played without him for a fair portion of the year. We know what that group looks like, and having him come in would be outstanding, and give Tyson Walker a few more minutes break.
Scott Roth, I think last week, was saying that they're kind of got nothing to lose in a way, like they're real outsiders because they've got so many injuries and they're just sort of going to go all out, I guess. But does that make them tricky to prepare for?
Jack Jumpers have always been tricky to prepare for, but they always play a physical brand of basketball, whoever is on the floor. I guess our focus has really been on, how can we put together the best style of basketball that can compete against anyone in this playoff series, and not only compete but be able to beat anyone in this playoff series. So there's a focus on them to say, hey, they've still got high level players that can really shoot the basketball, but the focus has totally been on us about how the basketball that we want to play.
I think we're going to talk to Jesse in a few minutes, but he seems to have really found his groove in the NBL. It takes a while, I guess, to really adapt to everything, but he's hit his straps. So, what do you see from him?
Yeah, I think 5 men coming into our league, there's always an adjustment with the refereeing and how you deal with that one. And that limited some of his minutes in the first part of the year, but we're starting to get up to see that 26, 27 minutes per game, and how he can really defend the rim, which he's been outstanding at, and screening techniques, and a lot of things that he needed to tidy up. And I think he's got to a confidence level right now that he's more than willing to not only be a receiver and catch lobs, but he's got the ability to take people one-on-one as well.
I think I saw a comment from one of the Kings players that they feel pretty confident that they're a cut above everyone else. But do you get a sense that it's a pretty wide open final series?
Yeah, the Kings deserve to be number 1. They came into the playoff series with 10 wins in a row or something like that, and but we've played them tough every time we've played them. They've been super close games, and hopefully we get the opportunity to play them again.
It's a pretty crazy week with the AFL kicking off, the Formula One, but obviously you'd like to see your fans get behind you.
Oh, for sure. Our fans for the Southeast game, for our last home game, were outstanding, and being an elimination game, you want as many people as we can get there. Hopefully we can pack it out.
Dino, before that last Southeast game, you had Chris Anstey come in and talk to the group before the club celebrated the 20-year anniversary of the Tigers Championship. Can you give us some insight into, what he talked about with the group and how that's potentially helping in this finals run?
Yeah, he really spoke about, and it's nice to hear from outside source to say, hey, you guys have beat everybody. I think, if everybody plays their role, and for all players to just look internally a little bit and not listen to any outside noise and just play your best basketball. And if everybody on the group can do that and just keep all messages really tight within the bubble of the team and just go out and play.
I guess, what does it mean to have, a legend from the Tigers and of this franchise come in and want to provide that insight to this group and still have that connection to this club?
Yeah, and we look at our history, and the Tigers are a massive part of our history, and obviously there was some that divided a little bit, but I think over time, we got to continue to look back at the history of this club, and Chris was a part of both franchise, the Tigers and United, and super successful in his time as well. And so for him to come in, give the history lesson of a championship and how they did it back in the day, and send some positive messages, it was a big uplift for our group.
One more about the jack jumpers, even if they, are undermanned, what do you sort of see as their sort of key strengths, I suppose, that you really need to shut down?
Yeah, I think the step up of Nick Marshall, the step up of Johnson and the number of shots, Majuk Dang, they're three guys that they're all capable of getting 20 points for that group. So. Yeah, and then there's they put different lineups out there that really try and stretch you out with their shooting as well. So I think they're the major threats.
Thanks, Dan.